It is Thursday, June 3. Welcome to CGN News. 2 dead wives, a dead witness, and the ability to hire assassins were cited by a Jamaican Supreme Court judge as prime reasons for denying bail to a businessman accused of orchestrating murder. Justice Vinette Allen Graham handed down the ruling in the Home Circuit Court on Wednesday. She said there were substantial grounds for the accused Everton Beachy Stout MacDonald would fail to surrender based on the sentence that may be imposed. She said the court was also of the opinion that the accused would commit another offense. Last August, MacDonald was charged for the death of his second wife, Tonya Hamilton MacDonald. During that probe, details emerged linking him to the murder of his first wife, who had been shot dead outside her home in Portland in May 2009. Allegations are that he had paid a police detective to kill her after their marriage crumbled in 2007 and she had left the matrimonial home. Pan American Health Organization PAHO Director Carissa F. Etienne warned that the COVID-19 response in Haiti must be scaled up dramatically to cope with escalating cases, hospitalizations, and deaths in recent weeks. PAHO is working with Haiti's public health ministry to scale up care for infected people and increase supplies of protective equipment for health workers. The group is also collaborating to reduce transmission through increased testing and will facilitate the upcoming delivery of the first doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine to Haiti. The vaccines were procured through COVAX. Dr. Etienne explained that the increased transmission is likely fueled by 2 variants of concern and because public health measures are being largely ignored by the general population. Health officials in Trinidad have reiterated the need for adhering to the protocols as the country continues to register significant numbers of deaths and new cases of the coronavirus. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram told the media on Wednesday there was a noticeable shift in the movement of the virus. He also said that there has been a shift in the effects of the vaccine in people with comorbidities. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health in its latest bulletin said that 16 deaths and 412 positive cases had been reported over the last 24 hours. According to the ministry, the death toll now stands at 523 since the first case was reported in March last year. Bermuda's health officials have announced that Phase 3 of the easing of coronavirus pandemic restrictions will take effect on Sunday. Restricted indoor service at bars, restaurants, and nightclubs will be allowed. Shops and grocery stores will be permitted to open with no limits on capacity. Religious services will also resume indoors, but gatherings will be limited to 50 people. Officials said there are 19 active COVID-19 cases in Bermuda. However, the island has not recorded a new case since Saturday. Some 52% of the population has been fully vaccinated against the coronavirus. The COVAX vaccine program secured another $2.4 billion from donors on Wednesday, but says it is still struggling to get enough doses to help poorer countries fight the pandemic. The scheme is trying to get enough vaccines for 30% of the population in 92 of the poorest territories, with donors covering the cost. But COVAX says that the challenge now is keeping up with its hoped-for delivery schedule. The Serum Institute of India plant was to have been the backbone of turning out doses for COVAX. However, New Delhi restricted exports to combat the devastating domestic surge. Overall, nearly 2 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been injected in at least 215 territories around the world, according to an AFP count. The airline industry is ratcheting up its campaign to ease border restrictions and allow more international travel, even by people who aren't vaccinated against coronavirus, despite high infection rates in many countries. The International Air Transport Association said Wednesday that governments should use screening measures, such as testing passengers for the virus, rather than imposing quarantines. The group cited studies that indicate vaccinated travelers pose little risk of spreading COVID-19. To bolster its argument to let unvaccinated people travel too, the airline group said only 2.2% of travelers to the United Kingdom between late February and early May tested positive for COVID-19 after arrival. The comments underscore the concern among airline officials that a recovery in travel might not be fast enough to make the peak summer vacation season a success. The airline trade group projects that the industry will lose $48 billion this year after losing $126 billion in 2020. Israeli opposition parties have reached an agreement to form a new government that would end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year tenure as prime minister. Yair Lapid, leader of the centrist Yesh Atid party, announced an 8-faction coalition had been formed. Under a rotation arrangement, the head of the right-wing Yamina party, Naftali Bennett, would serve as prime minister first before handing over to Lapid. But there still needs to be a parliamentary vote before the government is sworn in. An image carried on Israeli media showed Lapid, Bennett, and Arab Islamist Ram party leader Mansour Abbas signing the agreement, a deal many thought impossible. President Joe Biden on Tuesday marked the 100th anniversary of the massacre that destroyed a thriving black community in Tulsa, saying he had come to fill the silence about one of the darkest moments of racial violence. Biden's commemoration of the deaths of hundreds of black people killed by a white mob a century ago came amid the current national reckoning on racial justice. Biden said literal hell was unleashed, and now the nation must come to grips with the subsequent sin of denial. In 1921, on May 31st and June 1, a white mob looted and burned Tulsa's Greenwood district, referred to as Black Wall Street. Some 300 black Tulsans were killed, and thousands of survivors were forced into internment camps overseen by the National Guard. Burned bricks and a fragment of a church basement are about all that survive today of the more than 30-block historically black district. And finally, the maker of Budweiser said Wednesday that it will give away free beers once the United States reaches President Biden's goal of 70% of adults with at least one vaccine dose. The partnership with the White House from the brewer is the latest incentive aimed at getting more people vaccinated, as states have turned to everything from LL Bean gift cards to lottery drawings for vaccinated people. Once the U.S. reaches the 70% mark, people can upload a photo of themselves in their favorite place to grab a beer at mycooler.com/beer. The first 200,000 people will get a $5 digital prepaid card that can be used to buy an Anheuser-Busch product. Seltzers and other drinks will also be available. Biden wants to reach his goal by July 4. On Wednesday, he called for June to be a month of action on vaccinations. The brewer says the promotion is its biggest beer giveaway in history. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.